Okay. I'm gonna pull up our agenda and let's just see what topics people wanted to address today. I have a couple ideas that aren't on there. Gonna do a share screen.
Maybe something, I don't know, I have one brief note about the answer set documentation. I didn't get to look at it much, but had one thing I noticed. Not sure if that's worth.
I mean, I don't know, big and small is fine. Let's just, sorry. The sharing screen seems to be like taking over all the CPU. I can't interact with Google Docs very well.
Totally fair.
Maybe if I check. You hear me? Nope.
You popped in for a sec there.
Okay. Oh, all right. Maybe it's working now.
We heard you.
You could hear me. Okay.
I hear you,
Now,
but I don't see
now you're
anything.
moving.
So
Now I'm
I
moving.
don't see your screen, but we can see your video, so. Improvement.
I think he's frozen again.
Yeah. Yay,
Yeah, I can see things now.
basically.
Okay. You see me now? All right. I guess it's working now. All right. It's no longer being weird. All right. So we didn't have any notes for this week yet. All right. So one of my questions was maybe Lily, you could you had run into an issue with the save to a survey database kind of thing. Probably related to some code changes I made, but I thought maybe you could walk me through it so I could just make sure that might help me. Very minor one if we have time. Michelle, okay, I'm just not gonna, we don't have to tag everything with who it is, but. Maybe Michelle, could we get up? Just I wanted to just check in. Is everyone able to hear me and see me? Everyone's moving a little.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just making sure. I was like, oh yeah, maybe people are frozen again. On the income class, just check in on it. And I think that because Caroline is currently driving across 2 countries, there's not urgency, but some people were asking about fee waivers. Vermont specifically was talking about doing a fee waiver, and I was like, oh, we should have some of that stuff ready. So just a check-in on timing and whether you want someone else to take point on it for a while. Any other items people wanted to add? Oh, okay. I'm just going to also add in Weaver brainstorm. we have time, it'd be nice to kind of get this scheduled, and we're not gonna have a meeting next week, so. Because it's a holiday. Other ideas?
I have a pull request for bug fix for the Weaver, so if someone could take a look.
Yeah, sorry, I hadn't had a chance to test it yet, Lily. I did see the pull request, but I wasn't sure if I understood how it fixed it, so I wanted to make sure I tested it first.
Yeah, that's always good.
Does that look like our list? All right, why don't we put, I'm not sure if this is a discussion one or just a question. This one is just a update probably. Can we put that first then maybe? That you're feeling on the income class,
Sure.
where things stand now, basically what time you think you'll have to work on it soonish, whether you're ready to take a break from it for a while.
So I think the classes are there, if I recall correctly, and this is a memory thing, so you know how my memory is. But the main thing that needs refining is the interview that demos it. It tries to demo a lot, and I didn't, when I first created it, completely understand what was required of the demo or of the classes. So I think it just needs to be like mostly redone, other than the itemized job stuff. So I'm not sure I can completely redo that demo. I can make sure that everything is pushed. I think everything is pushed. I was pretty careful about that. But I can make doubly sure.
So mostly it's the existing, it's fairly, I haven't really looked at it as a whole. We just had to talk different pieces we pulled in for these meetings. But it's fairly similar to the one I did for GBLS a long time ago.
The rest of
For
the
the new
classes, I
users.
tried to do a really light touch on, other than the thing we discussed, which moved owners and stuff like that to assets, as opposed to the income class.
Right, okay. So moving one method to a different point in the hierarchy. But it's the same.
Well, also, owners, market value, that kind of stuff. So there were a few things that were moved to
Attributes and
assets instead of,
Okay.
I mean, there were methods for market
What
value,
is
et cetera.
So
other
it sounds
than
like it's
that,
basically ready to merge. It sounds like we need like another person to review it.
it definitely needs a review.
The demo, it's hard to really design a demo of every feature of a class. We don't have that for every class yet. What do people think about whether
I mean,
that
the
should be?
skeleton is there. It's just the questions that are a problem. Like, I don't think it's asking the right questions or
think a
testing
good-
specifically the right things.
Thing for us to consider is building a generic fee waiver interview that covers some of the things we run into in different states fee waivers.
Sure. I did have a question about like whether periodic value was really a necessary part, because that's the only thing that ties us to the naming conventions of doc assemble, and that seems to be really the only thing it does. Like, I couldn't tell what else.
Is this about whether
Yeah,
like how
sure.
period should be a year versus some other thing?
Well, yeah, but also it ties us to like doc assembles stuff when it doesn't need to. So
Do you mean we
if
literally
it
have to
doesn't need
inherit from
to.
that class? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like it's inherent, like that's like the main like
I do feel like the
limiting
names make
factor.
sense. I know we don't always agree about names, but I would be a little reluctant to change the names, but I don't think we need to keep a dependency there for a code that Jonathan hasn't touched in like 5 years. So I'd be I'm cool to remove the dependency, but I don't think we should change the structure or name of the way that the other parts of it work.
All
Personally,
right, I think amount is one of the bigger ones that is more confusing because it is completely undifferentiated from value in any like significant way. It doesn't.
I know it's
Um,
confusing to you. I know, but I think
Okay.
there is like, it's not just a path dependency kind of thing for how it's named. And sometimes you have to learn arbitrary things. I do think there's a risk in changing things, especially because there's working interviews that use it that people can find as models and interact with.
But they don't use it. They use, like, that was part of the reason it's I thought being put in the toolbox was that, and had different names, was that it was going to have differences.
So the thing about names is like when you change them arbitrarily, right, you're creating a new thing for people to learn. We have to have a really good reason to know that our new intuition is better. I mean, those
I
are
know,
complicated
Bryce,
concepts.
you had some instincts about the names as well. I don't know
So,
how you
but
feel
by,
about them these days.
I wouldn't say instincts. I remember this conversation. I wouldn't say they were instincts. I would say they're more of, I don't have any understanding of like financial models. Not like models, but just like how you have to handle things when you're dealing with financial input. And so I feel like most of my like instincts and intuitions of, oh, this doesn't make sense, are specifically, it doesn't make sense to me because I don't know how you have to handle this like at the core level, like what you can't get away from. But
So yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, so I used it to build two very complex interviews that probably were like a year of development, and got to figure out different things that were needed for those. So
Right, but I
kind of
mean,
like
like
the
we've
risk
said,
of like rewrite versus refactor, right? So I might be a little bit biased, but my sense is like a lot of things are like, oh, that's weird, are there because they are actually needed.
right, well, behavior wise, yes, but I think names not as much, right? Like names are more,
But why, I just don't know that like a new guess about the name is going to be better than the existing one. I know you like I actually don't know if you had new names or just didn't like the ones that were there.
I had some ideas.
I'm just a little reluctant to think that they will actually be better. You know,
Okay.
it might be confusing in different ways because they're just complicated concepts.
Okay,
And you haven't actually had to implement it in a real interview yet, right? So you don't really know. I mean, you have the demo interview, but it's not representing real information.
well, in Caroline's, right? So I worked with Caroline on her implementation. But yeah,
So, I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, it's not being used anywhere yet.
well,
So
we can
is a
also
fork.
talk about the names that are in the itemized job class, which I think are a little different. Yeah, yeah, we can see. Maybe in the review process or something.
I mean, feel free. I'm not saying don't suggest names. It sounds like that could be a thing that you think needs to be done. Probably you aren't ready to do that right now. But if you wanted to like start thinking of some different ideas for names, we could spend some time in a meeting doing that. I don't think this is needed in the next month even, really, right?
Okay,
So could just be something for you to start generating a list of ideas. Sounds like you have some, and we could find a time to talk about them on one of these calls.
sure, sure.
I just worry a little bit about like, hey, to do that, I have to go through and think about, wait, why was that done that way? Is there a reason for it? Or is it just path dependency?
Mhm.
Because we might miss something. But So it means like devoting some time to it, not just a quick.
Sure.
Just,
Okay.
Right.
Um,
maybe we
Yeah.
won't. Do you think do you want to like start listing some of those ideas somewhere so we could, so that's a discussion question we can have directly, or
sure, I
want to
can
have
try
that?
and list some of those.
Should we choose a time for that? Should we think of the June meeting now where we might be able to talk about it?
It could just be a deep dive.
I know, but if we put it on the agenda, we're more likely to get to it. That's all. We could do it in 2 weeks if you want. That's June 6th.
Okay. That sounds good.
And we won't have a meeting next week. I know I already said that, but
6, 6, 7.
Alright. Names always take us such a long time to talk about too, and it is worth getting the things right, but it's also very easy to have it be a time sink. It's not a bad thing.
Yep, I've just found that we don't change them after making them. Like we really don't. We don't go back and examine them, and yeah. So I will say I'm not sure any of my names are genius. They just might be a little. There's just
Make more sense to you.
there's some conflicts. Yeah. I don't know. Yep, we'll see.
Okay. All right, that was a little bit longer than I thought, but still, that's good. So we're basically saying June 6th, we'll do like another review. Maybe by then, and specifically focusing on names. Do you, let me see. I guess there's no sense in doing a pull request now. The only way to really experiment with it is to try to use the demo interview, I guess. Maybe we could try to all do something about looking at the code by then too, so we could have a review of not just the names to see. Yeah. Okay. And I don't think there's really a real deadline. I just want to make sure it wasn't something that was on your plate that was gonna, you would rather not have on your plate, and also just
Sure.
know where it would be eventually done. That's really all we are for that one.
Sure.
The answer documentation sounds like a quick.
Oh, yeah, that should just be real quick. I just noticed that there were there were these little pictures with numbers on them, and it was unclear to me in reading the documentation. Like it took me a while to figure out what numbers were referring to what. They were in different places, and it was just a bit confusing, that's all.
Yeah, it was just what I had time to do to get it up.
Yeah,
If
that's
someone
fine.
wanted to go back and put in a separate screenshot for each thing, that would be fine.
okay,
I'll just open an
that
issue,
was all. That was all.
or we could remove the numbers potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, that's as far as I got. I wish I'd gotten further, but there you go.
Do you want to open an issue for that? That's fine. I mean, yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, well, that's not ideal. That's what I have time for now.
I can open an issue if you want. I'll do that now.
All right. Maybe let me move this up, Lily, because it might be a really quick one. So Lily, you had a pull request for the Weaver.
Yeah, it's the skip button when you are reviewing the field order table. If you want to skip those screens, you can click a skip button and directly go to the table order screen. And I thought I tested before it worked, but somehow now it stopped working. When you skip to the table order screen and you say continue, and it goes back to the field order screen, and you still have to click through each of them. So I fixed that. Now it works. I don't know what it maybe something had changed in the core Docker symbol or something. Because why would you go backwards if you already moved it over, skipped over some screens? Why would you go back to it? But anyway, this it's a symbol fix.
Okay, I'm looking at it now and it seems fine. I'm trying to see.
Yeah, before it goes to the table screen, table order screen, but because of this loop event, the for J in range, that one, there's a variable show field order equal to true, because that's, if you skip the screen, that field is not set. So that's why I changed it to this force ask so that I can set the variable.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. All right, yeah, just test it and merge it, I think. That seems to make sense. Now I see what you're doing. All right. All right, so let's see. You opened a new issue. Was it in the tool? Which repository was it in, Lily? I was.
Oh, I didn't open it. Your issue. I just reported it
Sorry.
back in.
Oh, you just put it on Teams. That's right.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know which repository you think has the?
Yeah, I do. Basically, right now we have two problems. One is that the changes made in the save input screen now produces incomplete reports in interview stats because all the single valued variables disappeared. So that's issue number one. Number two is the changes made in the Weaver. I thought it would just to accommodate the new changes made in the toolbox for the save input screen, but looks like you made some extra changes there, and somehow I just got an error message for both scenarios where either I just started the interview from scratch or have a template to upload. Either
You're saying
way.
it doesn't let you reach the end of the interview?
Right. Yeah, it gave me the error. Give me
Okay.
an error, and it's different for each scenario. I put the text, the error text in the channel so you can look at it.
I just removed a couple. So yeah, I think it's possible there was something that happened in the merge where GitHub didn't do it the way that it thought it should. Other changes, like I think I just changed, I took out the emoticon or the emoji.
Yeah, no, it's not that one. It's the Weaver, I mean the output patterns where before I had a code block where I list the variables in the input, like input field dict or something like that. So that's just a code block. Now you cut part of that out from the code block and moved into the screen itself. I think that's probably where the new issue came up.
I just replaced it with the data from code block instead, just for thinking about readability from what we generate from the Weaver, but it should produce the same data structure.
Right, so that's why I said, okay, I just see the same list of those variables, but I couldn't get through. I got an error.
All right,
It
so
says something about not, you cannot look through it or something like that.
Maybe I can just let's do a quick check so we can make sure. And thanks for patience on this. I just want to make sure I know the problem so that I can look at it and see it.
Yeah, sure.
And this should be in what's in the code that's in main right now, right?
Yeah.
Everything that's merged in. So I don't know that. Definitely, we don't want to have a bug in the Weaver. I don't know if that's what's installed here or not. I can't remember if I did it. I don't think I did a new bump version. I think I was waiting until I bumped the version to This actually might be a good prompt for my other question, which was UI review. Of the Weaver. So while we're walking through it, people can start thinking about things that they notice, maybe. Someone can write down some of the things we're thinking about. If I ever get to go back to the playground. All right. So we're gonna have like a whole bunch of, so there's some new features that are coming for the Weaver, right, that are on our roadmap. And I want to think about where to fit those in, because we haven't done like a holistic review of the Weaver in quite a while. We did like a big refactor redesign a while ago, but we haven't really revisited it recently with some of the new features. All right. So one of the things is, I think, Lily, you correctly added like a modal setting here, right? Which is you run the Weaver and you choose what kind of run of the Weaver you're going to do at the beginning. I think that's right. But we're going to have more items to the list. So we really need to just be able to distinguish them in a more general way. So that's one point. I'm not sure if we're adding anything to this list right now. Like the new feature that's not in the Weaver right now is letting someone upload multiple forms. I don't actually know that that needs to be a separate menu item. You can just upload multiple forms on the next screen.
Wait.
That did seem like it would be added to the list.
I don't know. Should I make the comment about the labels of this new question now, or do I wait until we're done with this item and move into the next item?
Well, I definitely want to make sure we get to your bug. So I guess it depends. We could always run through it relatively quickly and have these be discussion points that we return to after we've gotten through the end. Because we could restart over it. We've highlighted them and then we can come back to them one slower. If that feels good to people.
Yeah.
All right. People can start, like one thing is we could start brainstorming here. You can write in your ideas. So you can be writing them down and not losing them. And then we can all see them together. That could be a way to help get both. All right. Okay.
No. That's not where I got it. I was testing the next two.
Oh, you weren't using that one. Okay.
Right.
Any of these should work. I guess maybe I don't even want to do that one. Maybe I should do this one.
The last two don't work.
They both had a problem.
Both have issues.
So this is one thing. I think the screen shouldn't have conditional input. If you have any items, it shouldn't give you this warning anymore. It should say something different here for this text at least. Because you already shown this screen once, I think that should really just be the first time that people see it. But okay, keep going. This might be one of the things to move up earlier. I don't know. Hold on. I do think it makes sense to get people straight away to the validation. Okay, here, argument of type DA field is not iterable. I don't remember running into that before we merged it. Sorry, because I'm sure I tried running it through. Field to check here, supposed to be a string. And instead, it's a DA field.
With my old code, it worked. So I don't know what happened.
It might be because of the old base that you were on, that something changed in one of the function calls. But I thought I had merged to main when I was testing because I wanted to get past the people bars used.
Well, I guess I could just use my old code with this version and see if it works. That would be some kind of confirmation.
Well, okay. Let's try to run this here. The contents of all fields is, all right, let's run it through, not on that path, I guess. It looks like all fields is supposed to be a list of strings, but at least some of the code is assuming that. And when we're doing the from scratch building of the interview, it's a list of DA fields instead. I think it might have to do with the timing of when that code runs. I think that might run earlier if we upload a document. And maybe the contents of all fields changes throughout the course of the interview. That could be the reason. Let's see. So let's go through as we did before. And I'm going to first see if I get past. So it was to try to run this question, I guess, right? That was the problem. I think. Because it was asking for that built-in people vars use. See, that's the variable it was trying to define. So that clearly was fine. Let's just look at the value of what are the contents of that all fields. It's a list of DA fields. So that's definitely the same. I don't see a problem there. See this error message again. All fields, all fields, all fields. Okay. And here, get person variables. I think this file type parameter, Lily, was one of a recent pull request that Bryce, that you did, right? Might be when it was added to that. Maybe that merge happened later. Let's just see.
I'm blanking on when I did this, but
this one here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the problem. And it probably. So, okay, so this is fine right now, right? Let's try adding a new field. And see if we can trigger that same error. Maybe not, because it's already done the process custom people. So that works fine. Okay. So something with the order of that code running. It might not be because of that pull request at all, actually. But all right, I mean, I guess this error takes us exactly to where in the code we should be looking. I don't really understand why field to check. That's confusing.
I mean, it says it's a DA field that it's trying to iterate through.
It's not trying to
Okay.
iterate through, it's trying to check it like a string, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to do that, it has to iterate through it.
Sure, yeah, but
Yeah, and that's
mostly
like
it's not like it's not like it should be an array of DA fields. It should just be a string. Is
correct. Yeah, but what I don't really understand is why
DA field isn't a string.
it was already a DA field, right? So I'm trying to figure out like why it's different in the two different paths. That might just be something to like have to dig in and look at slower.
note that DA field is one of ours. It is not a thing. It might
Oh,
might
okay.
somewhere, but it's one of ours, and it's over, but it's specifically for our stuff, and we're building it. So it's not like it's
Not a built-in docassemble variable.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
might be
yeah.
called DA. Yeah.
Okay, got it. That is a bit confusing. Okay.
I'm not sure if I understand why it's doing it differently yet, but I guess this error message should be enough to figure out what's happening. All right, so
What can we check the value of the fields to check variable? I mean, obviously not in here because in here it's working. So
well, here is where it's being called, according to this stack trace at least. Get person variables is checking a value called all fields. And we've confirmed that all fields in a working branch contains a list of DA fields. So it's a bit confusing why it's working when it's a list of DA fields in both scenarios. The only thing I can think of is if we maybe mutated that list.
yeah. So that's so field to check. Sorry, I have the code pulled up. That's why. So
Okay.
in get person variables, it's going through fields list.
Uh-huh.
And if it's, and I'm assuming this is what it is because it's checking to see if it's an instance of tuples, and if it's a tuple, it's a PDF, and it grabs just one of the doc things, and if it's a docx, it's just grabbing whatever is it, like the direct item of that list.
Oh, okay. So this isn't
So-
actually a DA field either, even though it looks like I was assuming it's a DA field, but really it's just a tuple.
Yes, yeah.
The tuple code was working.
Yeah, and
and
this is one of those like we should probably be passing around more specific document type stuff and not just being, oh, is this a tuple? If it is, it's PDF. Because I don't know how that handles for non-PDFs or for this brand new thing where we have neither a PDF or a docx.
I think what we need to do is just not try to call the, is this a custom person code? And I think something was making that not be triggered before. So I think if someone uploads, I think we need to add an else here that creates that list of custom people it makes it process people variables. There must be some path that's being called where it really, where maybe you hadn't done it. Maybe that was my merger issue. Because it was kind of hard to detangle the changes to the interview order block. So it's this code here, right? Process people variables that's being run. No, it's built-in people vars used.
I gotta go in this way to go home.
You did? Is that
Oh,
what
it says it
you
needs
done?
built-in people vars used.
Okay.
Okay, so it's never running this code, which is correct. But the problem is, I think that it still needs the variable built-in people vars used,
I already had one.
and that variable is, I don't really like doing this, but let me just do a quick check. Actually, no, I'm going to move this logic.
Everyone snacks to mama.
I'm going to move it to where it's defined. That makes more sense.
Henry, I'm gonna check in with Miles on lunch, okay? Yeah.
I think this should fix it.
Mama, how do you turn my watch off?
All right, let's see if this works. That does it, right? That got us past the screen we were stuck on before. Does that seem right to everyone's memory?
So
Okay, and I think that's the right fix. I don't think it makes sense to have people create variable names and then ask them, is this meant to be a person? We might want to add on that screen a way to let people add a person directly. But I don't think it should be like create the variable and then follow up and ask it's a person. Does that seem right to
yeah,
people?
I think that
Yeah.
makes sense, yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so I think this fix should do it. I'll push it up as a hot fix. I think.
Hold. There's another one. Have you tried the other one?
Between 12 and
It's
2.
Okay.
the-
Sure.
Oh, wait. We did try both, did we?
We didn't check both yet. No, we just checked.
Oh, okay.
We checked the totally from scratch. I'll do the one where we upload a document first.
Because the
Was
error message
They were
is,
totally different, Lily, or was it a variation? Well, I guess we'll see.
no, it's a very different.
It was a very different error.
Something like blocks,
I feel
6,
so.
Really?
whatever.
Well, even so, that's a fix for one of the bugs. That's also good.
Interview dot blocks 6 dot data could not be looked up.
Did I have to make a new field?
Cookie.
No, just
Am I allowed to?
Okay, let's see if we can figure out where it's going to reference.
Please.
You want cheese on it?
All right, I don't know which one would be block 6. We'll figure this out, I guess.
Could check the variable data.
So usually when you add a block, it has a data attribute, and then it will pass that in. So here's an example, right? So when you add a block, it has a data attribute. It's part of the way we were doing the YAML rendering. So I guess maybe Lily, you can jump us to the one where we're adding the questions for the custom interview order, or the stuff for the survey type template. That's probably where it's missing, is my guess. Interesting that it only happens. Well, we actually don't know. Maybe it would have happened in both branches.
Unless we made some new changes, because I tested this so many times, I didn't get the.
Maybe add end question.
So must be some new changes that.
Add save data block, probably. That's the problem when it's like a really old branch sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
But it's kind of thing that happens with a merge. Okay. This clearly has a data block defined. I'm just looking at the order of the things. So it wasn't there. Maybe. Wouldn't be happening here.
Mom,
Do you generate a download screen if there's a uploaded template that's just used to process?
No. I have
Okay.
a hope that assigns the value to those variables.
Well, let's just try to work backwards for what's unique about this. Like which blocks is it adding that might be unique? Is only the save data block, right? Is there another block that's unique that's added?
No, I don't think so. Before I had like a module block, but we got away from that. Let me see. I have a version.
It's unfortunate how DocAssemble shows you the variable state right before you get to a screen instead of when you're at that screen. So I have no idea what interview block 6 was meant to be. Let's just look for these references. I guess that'll tell us. That has a data. That has a data. Data. Wait. Yep. Data. Data. Am I back at the beginning? I can't tell. Ah, here we go. Okay, so here's a branch. I don't think that's a problem though.
No, that's data in both cases.
That's something for us to watch out for though.
Do you know if it's skipping any?
I don't for sure. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes the search function's temperamental. But I don't think we've gotten to the end yet. It still seems to be going down.
Oh, wait. I think I have another new block is the save screen. I mean, the thank you screen. Is that a block?
Which one?
Thank you. The final screen. Is
Okay.
that a block or not?
Do you remember what it's? Oh, thank you screen. Here we go. But this seems to be it, because that's the end question. But that's already there. End question.
Okay, let's hold. Is that?
It's there in both cases, really.
Yeah. Wait. Thank you screen. That's where the save code is, right? Is that a one block or two blocks?
What do you mean by that? I'm not sure. Well, this one does seem to have data. There's an if statement, but there's an else. So there's always a data there. So it's probably not that one. All right, we're still going down. So far, we're still finding.
Right. Okay. So what I mean is that in the output pattern file, the
Mhm.
save screen is, thank you screen is a block, and then the save function is another block. Are we combining them now? I'm not quite sure. Just go to the very bottom.
Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay, that helps. All right.
Right. So. Okay, so they are separate, but thank you screen doesn't have any data in it.
Yeah, as far as this is concerned, it's just like one block of text that gets inserted. So I don't think this is the problem. But that was a change that I made. So
Yeah, pretty good. And also we will do it. Yes.
I don't see this like making a change where it needs anything directly referencing data. The data attribute gets referenced in the method that displays all of the blocks and turns it into a YAML. Okay, now we're back to the beginning and I don't see it. Anything that was missing it. That's very interesting. I mean, I don't want to slow everyone down to try to track down that one bug though, but I won't do this as a, I'll put this in a branch for now so we can get both bug fixes in one go instead of having them be separate. All right, well, thanks for walking through that anyway. It was helpful to start debugging it, but I won't take our recorded time for the rest. I mean, it does feel like we should change, like, I think you're right, to change this custom process, custom people variable so it doesn't depend on there being a tuple. It's kind of weird that we're mixing in DA fields. I don't really remember why that would be there, why we're mixing in so many different types of data structures in one list is a little weird. But I think this fix is good for that part. Now,
Yeah. That's like I did at the pool.
all right, I guess here's one question I have. When we came to docx files, we were able to merge the preview screen, which shows you the document, with the list of variables. It's all in one go. Okay, this is doing its weird thing that it sometimes does.
It's still like that. Let's look for it.
What? I'm expecting to see the validation screen here, but I'm not. I was thinking it's because of something weird.
No,
with the variable
before, I
state.
actually wrote this down as a thing to consider. It's not press continue, it's next.
This is another new thing, new behavior. I've not seen this before. I do docx documents frequently. So this is another
Short title.
like introduced here.
I feel like I've run into this issue before. I have pushed it back, but it likes to be defined.
Ah!
This must have come in from the change from the old code, which we probably fixed before. Yeah, and it must have come in from that old branch. All right. Okay, so yeah, you know, I guess we should have done that a little differently. Instead of doing a merge domain, we should have done a rebase probably.
Should, yeah.
But let's just work on features coming in with the latest or as close to the latest as we can. I know it's hard when you work on a feature over a long time. This should have been caught in the code review. So I have some things to share here, but okay, we're gonna have to do a little cleanup on this to get that working. All right, this is what I wanted to show people. I think just talking about like our feeding off our conversation in the admin meeting earlier. What's our assembly line looking like? What are people doing? Is it the same person who's doing things end to end a bit more frequently than in the past? So, okay, we had 3 screens for PDFs before. We managed to get it to 2 screens for docx by showing the preview underneath the list of fields. Oh, and I guess there's not a confirmation screen for docx's either, so it's just 1 screen. I don't know if that's intentional or not. Can't remember if we intentionally removed that. But my question is, do we think we could streamline the PDF review process the same way?
Probably. If that just means getting rid of the confirmation screen, then yeah.
It's
My
2.
opinion.
It's the confirmation screen and it's the preview screen. So those were combined. The preview and the list of fields were combined, which got rid of this screen here. And then we had this list of checkboxes was merged with this list of checkboxes for the docx. It seems to be working fine there in that context. But also, you know, a big part of it is people
I'm
don't
gonna
tend
go with-
running this separately from, hey, I'm the form author. I'm going to see it through all the way to the end.
Yeah, so like I agree with like we don't need this particular interim screen, but I'm still gonna hold that it's the same, like it's the same amount of info that they should be checking. And if it's an issue of I just want to get to this one particular part of the Weaver really quickly, that doesn't feel like it's worth like merging 2 different screens. On the off chance that someone just like we add so much more information onto this one screen and people just skip over it and go to the next screen and don't actually check, and it breaks later on, like because that is
Yeah.
what we're trying to fix here. So
Yeah, I mean, well, so another thought that I have is this the right information on the screen? Or is it in the right priority? So maybe the first thing to show people is the preview image of the form.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe this is
I'd be
too
okay
much
with
information to
changing them around.
show expanded for every person as well.
You mean by, wait, what do you mean by that? Like just having a default like collapsed or something?
Yeah, maybe showing a summary of the fields or showing it in a different format that doesn't take up as much real estate. I don't know. Ma'am, I would consider that as something for us to investigate and think about at least.
That's fair.
Not sure if it's the, yeah, I don't know.
Seems useful to have a thing to look over, right? Like,
I do like the idea of at least checking the preview first, because that's what most people are gonna recognize as, yes, this is the right form, and it's a lot more visual, whereas this is much more like in the code, in the fields, and that might not be like where someone's mental model is of things are, or maybe that might not be someone's mental model of how everything works yet. They might still be thinking of, oh, it's this place on the PDF and not it's this variable name or whatever. But
So
I
showing
do still
them the
agree that-
variable names in context might still let them do a little bit of checking for misspelled variable names. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, or at least showing this screen first, because they'll be able to go through. Yeah, sorry, yeah. I forgot we do substitute the variable names in there. So yeah, that might make more sense. And I still like the idea of having the other page, but I don't know. Like I don't really know what we would get from auto collapsing it or
Yeah,
like summarizing it. Maybe we could try. There is like the big gap of most, or at least on this form, but like probably a lot of forms, at least 50% of the variables aren't going to have internal DA names like auto mapped to them. So there might be a like small, like cleaner way to do that, but I don't think we would do anything that would like take up less actual real estate space. It would take up the same amount of space. We would just use it smarter. And maybe
Okay.
it'd be less wide.
let me see. Oh, and one thing, of course, is we really don't need the annotations TX probably anymore, right? Like that was more of a debugging thing we had early on.
Yeah, I think that's because this screen was ripped straight from the debugging screen.
we might,
So yeah,
we might-
that's fair.
we might list the predefined, the like the built-in variables that we put in bold. We might just put them all first.
Yeah, sorting those differently.
Yep.
You're saying sort them so like all of the bold things come up top.
Yep.
Okay. Is someone able to write some of these down? Sorry, because I'm showing the screen. I guess it's kind of hard for me to.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so we just said that was a good one, sorting them so that the ones that are we want to have people double check are really correctly reserved, move this to the top. We said showing the preview first. One question is whether in the preview, there's no way for us to control formatting of text in the preview, unfortunately. So never mind. And it's especially unhelpful for things like checkboxes, which all we can do is check or uncheck them.
At some point, we still would want to add some like icon or something for the type option, like next to text. Signature.
Yeah, I think we're brainstorming. By the way, we hit 12:30. Like, are people want to take 10 more minutes for this? Is that okay? Or do people want to sign off, which is fair?
I might have to sign off.
I'm fine.
I got some other meetings soonish.
All right. Well, Bryce, that's fair. I mean, we ran out of time, so maybe we should pause it here in that case. I do think we could really reconsider every screen of the Weaver and think about like, are we grouping things the right way? And is the right amount of detail shown? Some things I think are very confusing. I might just try redoing some of them. Like, I don't think this is really quite right. This description of the user's role. A lot of people are working on court forms, but not everybody is. And we really don't, this doesn't really mean, are they the plaintiff or the defendant? It really means, are you starting the case or are you responding to the case? So we should probably just say that here. That's one thing I was thinking of. I don't know if this is clear to people. it's a big concept to people. Maybe it's not the right place, and maybe it's not combined with the user's role on the form. I think we wanted to have fewer screens, so these seem like something to group. I don't really know that they're the right grouping. This seems okay. It's kind of like metadata-y, but they don't necessarily have to be combined. Maybe the author's name shouldn't really be there. Maybe that should come up earlier, like, hey, who are you? People like to know who worked on the form.
Yeah,
This is like a holdover thing. We need to really rechange this. We shouldn't be showing the list. I don't know. I'm curious how many people are using the list of courts. Now, it would seem like really important for our first few forms, but I don't think it's that important for even very many court forms anymore that we've been working on recently, that my students have worked on. And it should never.
One day all of those forms will be programmed.
What's that?
I said one day all the existing forms will be programmed.
Yes, that's possible. You're right. Well, I mean, definitely it shouldn't be a list of Massachusetts courts. Never was the intent. It's kind of where we've been stuck. And this list
Have
of
we not-
categories.
Did we not ever, like, are we not pulling from the not published? Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Did the courts ever get into like the thing that like other packages can like publish configurations to the Weaver?
No, I mean, it should be there, but it turns out
Yeah.
that like that mapping of courts you can file in made sense for Massachusetts,
But it doesn't for everyone else.
but not for a lot of other jurisdictions. Like
Okay.
in like in Illinois, for example, like we've been talking about that a lot. So that's why it's my example. Like it's county based, and there are specialty courts in Cook County, but there's like 2. So it's a little bit less.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, it's less of a helpful mapping for people to think of at this point in the design.
I'm thinking if we ask this question, I mean, bring up this screen earlier on in this process, some of the other screens could be suppressed if they're not, if the interview is not code related, right?
I think you're right. I think we could probably do that. I think you're right. There might have been a reason why we did it in this order. I think one of them was the jurisdiction definitely has to come before you can ask this question. But I don't remember if there were other thoughts there for why we had in that particular order. Okay. This is a short one. I feel like it's still a lot of information. This one I feel like is really bad. And it doesn't actually map what people want to be able to say. So I was realizing like this question, how many of so-and-so can appear on the form? This semester, I had a bunch of my students who were like, it can be exactly 3 people. And that's not one of the choices. There's no way to specify it. And then they kind of were guided to like, oh, I want to do at least 1, but actually exactly 1 would have been a better choice for them because they didn't, because that would let you specify any number. It wouldn't have to be exactly 1. You could change just one part of the code to have it be 3. At least 1 was a totally different kind of block. Okay. Well, we lost Bryce, who told us he had to leave.
Yeah.
He didn't have 10 extra minutes, so we probably should
Yeah.
really stop. Anyway, I want people to like
I didn't get that
with
last
a
one.
naive lens. Sorry.
I didn't get that last suggestion, so I was writing down a different one.
Oh, the good news is for that one, I already created an issue for it.
Oh, okay.
So at least there's an issue tracking it. But yeah, I mean, I encourage people because we've been working on features for the Weaver. I don't know how many of you all have been automating forms from scratch with the Weaver. Probably we
Not
don't do
for a
that
while.
often. So you
Yeah.
should try it and just think about it like, wait a second, does this make sense? And then it'd be nice to really have a much more usable Weaver by the end of the summer. I mean, maybe we just do like a light retouch before, wouldn't take till the end of the summer to start refactoring it a little bit in terms of the flow and order and arrangement of screens. In some ways, that could be really easy to do without having to, I mean, if we're not changing the features, but we're just changing the order and the text surrounding them, that might not be a big lift. So let's just start thinking about that, I guess.
Maybe it'd be good to make a milestone or a label or something for it so we can put them all under kind of UI redesign or something.
Yeah, I think probably the best way to do it would be a label, just so, because you can apply multiple labels. But I think that's a good idea. I mean, issue could be multiple milestones too.
No, you can't apply
And
multiple.
it's one milestone per issue.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And
Yeah.
hopefully it's just a good framing prompt, and we can keep talking about it in these meetings too. I think maybe people have ideas. So,
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
okay.
that sounds good too. All right.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.